Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back. So today I got a very good topic. This topic is one of the biggest problems that Diablo 4 currently has that is something that's easily solvable. Plus, not only does it help the players, but it actually will help Blizzard actually make more money. So what am I talking about is specifically alts in the game. Meaning that, like, maybe you're done with, let's say, Barbarian, you want to make a Necromancer, Sorcerer, Rogue, or whatever the case may be. Why doesn't the game actually encourage us to actually make alts? If you played maybe Diablo 2, you can get all of your gear, just throw it onto your other character. You can get all your gear, trade it, and then you'll have another character kind of ready to go. Or even in Diablo 3, you have the Gem of Ease. There's a lot of things that really ease your character into basically being able to power up another character. It's very easy to power level someone in like 10 minutes in Diablo 3. Now, obviously, in Diablo 2 and Diablo 1, those are going to be a little bit different. I think games have kind of evolved to the point where they want players to have increased retention rate, right? And that actually does tie into monetization. They're pretty much saying over here, well, probably because the majority doesn't even make an alt in the season. That's part of the problem. Someone else over here says, I've leveled all the classes and cannot get even 1 to 100. So even though they are giving us more XP again and again, it's because looking at the metrics, more likely the majority of the player base has not hit level 100. Diablo 4 is a very demanding game in terms of how much time you need to put into the game to actually achieve a level 100 character. And I have tons of level 100s, but I can stream for 10 hours a day. A lot of people, they have jobs, they have people that they, maybe need to take care of. Whatever the case may be, a lot of people aren't able to hit 100. And at the end of the day, Diablo 4 is a relatively casual game. And I think that while it shouldn't be like, oh, you can spend, an hour and you should be max level, I think with your alts, it should be a lot more friendly. And here's why. So not only does it make the player base more happy to be able to play other classes and enjoy some of the new items or buffs that they have actually updated the character with, but that also means they basically have it set up where most people more likely aren't even reaching level 100, let alone playing all of the other classes, therefore not even looking at the cosmetics. Because let's put it this way, there are currently several classes. If you play one class, well, that's like 1 out of the 5 that you'll have access to in terms of the cash shop, right? Or later it'll be 6. But for the most part, you just don't check out the shop for the rest of the class because you don't play that class. This would actually help them in terms of revenue. Another thing that I think is a really big problem is there are so many glyphs that are basically exactly the same. Why can't I use the same glyph as one character as another, even though they have the same name? And I think they've actually kind of created a small problem where you have the same glyph name, but it actually does something different depending on the class that you play. One excellent example of this would be like Exploit on Rogue automatically applies vulnerability. It has like a cooldown of 20 seconds per target. But then other classes, well, you just do more damage versus a vulnerable enemy. So it's kind of weird on the system that exists. Why have the same name if it does something completely different? I think another thing that is huge, and this is going into seasons now, is that like why when I make a seasonal character do I have to go through the whole seasonal campaign again, talk to the NPC, do all the seasonal quest line again, and then I have to reacquire all of the blood. Again, this is something I think is pretty major, and I think as far as the seasonal content, it should just be there for like a one-time thing. How exciting is it to hear the same narration and go through the same story if people just want to get the vampiric powers, right? You're creating a situation where people feel frustrated going in, I need to make a new character. Now, I will say at least you can get some upgrades with the potent blood, like it kind of rolls over. But what I think is even worse is the end of the season journey. If you guys have actually completed the entire thing, at the very end, there's like a little board that you can kind of complete everything with. And what do you get? You get more potent blood. But if you've ever played the game, you will already reach maximum skill level when you get the bonus potent blood. That's supposed to be your reward. So your reward is basically something where you can't even really use. And they're giving us sometimes random items at the very end. It doesn't feel very rewarding, and I want to offer a suggestion to it. And it all kind of ties into the longevity of your playtime, the player's retention rate, especially with alts here. Another thing that I think should just exist in the game, this is also, giving my feedback as a Diablo partner. I'll try to concise it as quickly as possible, but having access to the waypoints, it's just annoying having to get all of the waypoints, because if you're like, oh, I'm going to do a grim favor over here. All right, well, I got to ride my horse all the way through it. If we've already experienced the campaign, because it requires you to do, a character that has already skipped the campaign to already have gone through it. You shouldn't have to go through the entire world walking all over again. I'm so glad that we don't have to pick up the Lilith statues, which was in the original design. It just kind of feels like it's a time waster where they can invest more of our time spent making other characters versus having this longer life cycle because we have to have these painful things that exist in the game that we simply do not want to do. I think what would be more exciting is the drive for us to make alternate characters, and I have a great suggestion, and I'm curious to know what you guys think about it for the Battle Pass. Another thing that I think is really strange in terms of its design is specifically the gems. We have so many gems in the game that give you such a small minor increase here. If we look at Diablo 3, some of these increases are actually quite strong, whereas if you go into Diablo 4, I mean, some of these do happen to have a level requirement. You can see getting the final one versus the first one is like so small in terms of what it does. If the stat was huge, like let's just take damage over time, for example. The difference between a 4% and an 8% damage over time, you're not going to feel that sense of progression. If you were to play Diablo 2 and you get like a gem, like a perfect emerald, 100 poison damage at level 18 is definitely noticeable. You can notice some of these things, or getting that extra all resistance on a perfect diamond. You could use these a lot earlier on. So I think the whole gem system, this is almost a topic for another video, but just let us use the gems. We've already crafted them. Now we have to go craft like crappier gems just so our character can use them. And the amount of stats that these gems give, in terms of design, I know this is definitely a subject for another video. Why do we have an item like Sapphire, which when you put it in a weapon, you get crit strike damage to crowd control enemies? Now the other one, you get the same exact numerical stat, and it's just crit strike damage to vulnerable enemies. I understand they have a different condition that needs to be met, but at the end of the day, it does essentially the exact same three. It's just some small amount of additive damage, and this doesn't seem very exciting. I wish they would just literally copy and paste a Diablo 2 gem system, or heck, even the Diablo 3 system of the gems had a lot more variety in terms of what they can do, but having these gems have a locked level requirement for, again, such a small amount, going from 6% additive damage to 12% additive damage is legit nothing. So adding a system where not only the gems are better, but maybe reducing the level requirement so it's a little bit easier to progress. Another thing I wanted to mention, this kind of goes hand in hand with the glyphs. In Diablo 3, we were able to actually level up our gems, and then we could use them on other characters. Heck, there are ones that are specifically meant for us leveling up alts, like the Gem of Ease, so we don't need a friend to power level, although that's way faster in D3. In like 10 minutes you can max out, right? And I would really love for this system to also exist with the glyphs, and I think just adding legendary gems in general would be cool. One thing that I do want to give him some credit for is the system that we have currently with the Vampiric powers. I do really like how they are all class agnostic, meaning anyone can use them. That way you can kind of see some of the other ones that exist and may think, well, I want to build a character around it, because a lot of people, again, aren't not making alts, therefore they're not even going to see the powers that exist. A lot of people are like, what the heck is that ability that you have on this character with like the malignant heart, with the druid was sucking in everything? That was a really cool power, but it was like only locked to that class. So I think making all of the gems and all of the powers for seasons, this is a great thing. So again, I want to give him some credit for that. That is awesome. Another thing that I really want to stress is doing the same campaign for the seasonal quest just kind of needs to go. Doing it once is already enough. If players want to experience, sure, maybe give them that as an option, but a lot of times it's just skip. And when you have the player wanting to skip out so many things in the game, they're not going to respect the game and enjoy their time spent in the game as much if they're just spamming things, right? This person over on Reddit actually highlighted pretty much everything that I really wanted to talk about. Some of these things are actually very interesting that he brings up. Another thing that I think is really good, especially with the aspect and the crafting. If you guys didn't know, if you put an aspect that you extract and you want to use it, it will actually change the item's level requirement, even though you can get the exact same power and it will do the exact same thing. It makes the level requirement so high that you literally cannot use this. Why is this even designed in the game? I don't even know why they had like the colors white, blue, and gold in the aspects. My guess was originally the game was designed for you to have sacreds only go into sacred items from extracting, then they decided, that's a bad system. I think in general, these aspects, and on top of that, all legendary items should be tradable. Even the uniques in the game should be tradable, and most of the uniques in this game are very weak. Now, the uber uniques, that could be up for debate, but I think just in general, it would be much smarter for them to be able to just let us trade the aspects, because sometimes we're just missing that perfect role, and it would be really nice just to add a little bit more of a sense of community with the trade. I think that that is good. But yeah, this is a great point that this person brought up, and this was kind of my whole reason of even making this video. I really like this idea of making things more alt friendly, and there's also this talk about XP scaling, where if you're doing harder content, you're not going to get extra rewards past plus 10 levels, and I think that is horrible. The thing is that, like, if you are going to push yourself to do harder content, give us some sort of incentive. Maybe being level 1 and fighting level 100s. It's obviously not really doable unless you're doing some sort of exploit or if you have a friend power leveling you. And maybe that was their intentional design on it, to not allow your friends to power level you, but you could still get power level to 50 in like half an hour and just have your friends carry you to the capstone. So it already semi-exists in the game, but I think that that would be a very nice change, just to maybe add a little bit more than plus 10, maybe going up plus 20 or 30. That way, again, you're rewarded, especially with the Glyph system. We are getting an update in December that will kind of help out with this. But here's one of my suggestions for the Battle Pass, because when I look at other video games, there's usually some sort of sweet, awesome thing at the very end. Now, I don't want there to be any sort of like pay to win, like I used to play Call of Duty, and in Call of Duty, they would have these weapons in the Battle Pass, and at the very end, there was a super cool brand new weapon that was usually pretty powerful. Now, I think it would be really nice to add some more of a sense of a seasonal progression at the very end, the final thing in the Battle Pass, to be a little bit more exciting than some sort of like cosmetic. Now, I'm curious to know how you guys feel about this system. This way, people actually want to push to complete their season journey, because I was talking about in one of my videos that if you want to engage in the new Abattoir of Zir, you actually have to complete your season's journey. Like, you have to do all of them. Some people were commenting, man, this is going to take forever, I don't want to do this. And I was kind of surprised, because I finished the Battle Pass quite fast, but, you know, everyone's, you know, at different areas in terms of how much time can they dedicate themselves to actually finishing and getting something cool at the very end. And I think it would be a really awesome change to see perhaps being able to choose just one uber unique at the very end. That way, you have a desire to actually finish the entire Battle Pass. That way, you know you can guarantee get one thing that maybe you are searching for, because I stream all the time, and sometimes I'm doing Duro runs. People are like, dude, how many runs did it take you to get Shaco? Man, I've done 300, 500 runs. I still don't have one. And I'm sorry, I can't really just give you my extra ones that I have dropped. And I would like the whole game to have free trade. I really like that system that Diablo 2 has. Or at least maybe a middle ground with Diablo 3, where like if you are in a party with the person, they are able to they can give you the extra items that they, you know, have, whether it be a legendary or a unique, because it sucks getting multiple copies of an uber unique, and you can't do anything with it. You basically just have to salvage it, because what's the point? It's just going to take up more room. You can't equip double, you know, uber uniques. But I think it would be really cool for some sort of big thing at the very end of the Battle Pass to try to incentivize you. Obviously, it'd be free, okay? Just so we're clear here, not the paid Battle Pass, but on the free Battle Pass, you can select just one uber unique. But again, this is kind of tied into the progression, and I think a major issue that would really keep people more interested in the game overall. Like I said, you would just be able to select whichever one that you want. Or another suggestion that I had when curious to know your thoughts on this. What if you could salvage all of the uniques that you get in the game? Because there's so many uniques that are absolutely terrible. And what you could do is maybe get unique shards, and you can maybe for 100 of regular uniques that you salvage, you could actually get a uber unique. What do you guys think about that? That way you can still try to get these, because I think how it works right now, and I know I've done hundreds and hundreds of Duriel runs, I'm still missing a few of them. I'm specifically just missing 2 of them. But the Melted Heart of Selig and Grandfather, 2 ones that I'm missing. But regardless, is like I'm getting multiple copies of certain ones, and it'd be cool. Maybe again, 100 is the cost, and maybe on the Battle Pass for what you can get at the very end, you get 10 unique shards or 50 unique shards, and then you can use 100 to craft whatever one that you want. I think that would add a little bit more incentive to keep on playing and doing Duriel runs, because like I'm doing sometimes Duriel runs for an hour to get, you know, my grandfather for a build, and it just feels really bad to sit there and not get anything out of return. It feels like I'm playing a slot machine, a mobile game, or something where like it just takes too long, and it seems like that there may have been like you know, a system where I could just get more material, that wouldn't even really fix it because it's still a long time investment into something that feels kind of like a slot machine. And I understand some people want items to be super rare, but that's just my thoughts on it. I think there should be some sort of big, awesome thing at the very end, and there kind of is once you complete the season journey for the new content in December. But that's just my feedback. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. But if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.